I have a correction to make on the gear guide that I put out recently. It's all fine except for the part where I talk about EX stats and the flat stats on the top row of gear. I'll give you the quick explanation of it so that you can leave with the correct information, and then if you want to hang out afterward, I'm going to do the math. I'm going to let you see it all broken down. But they operate a little differently than I thought they did, and that's my bad. I've been playing these games for about 10 years, so I assumed it was just the way it's always been in every single other game that I've played. And I did a quick test that seemed to confirm it worked the same way here, and I should have done more testing apparently. So that's my fault. I'll be more careful moving forward, but we're gonna correct it now, and we'll be all good. All right. So I thought that the flat stats as the main stats on the gear here basically were the same thing as the EX flat stats that you see around. I thought that the reason there was a differentiation was because this system, they have it where any substat can be on any piece of gear, and usually that's not the case. Usually, like, you can't have defense on a weapon, something along those lines, right? So I figured since they were doing a system where all substats were possible on all gear, they needed a differentiation because you can't have an identical substat, right? You can't have HP percentage boots with an HP percentage substat up here. I assumed they didn't want a defense main stat with a defense substat, so I thought that was the differentiation that they made. I thought EX defense was the standout, but that they were going to operate the same way. That is not the case, okay? The way that this works is EX flat stats operate in the same way that a traditional flat stat does across the board, okay? These main stats that are not EX, that is the only place that you'll find these stats. Instead of getting added to the base stat on top of it, think of them as getting absorbed by the base stat of the champion, okay? So that when you do add percentages to your setup, the base stat is affected by whatever it is and whatever is absorbed into it from the main stats of this gear, okay? I'm gonna do the math and break this all down afterward, but basically think of these three base stats, these three stats, as becoming part of the base stat, whereas EX stats get added to the top of the base stat, right? These change the base stat and the way it's affected by percentages. EX stats get added to the top of the total, okay? Now, real quick, we're gonna jump over now and I'm gonna run through the math real quick. So if you are interested in that part of it, hang around. Otherwise, that's the correction. Again, my bad. We'll be more careful moving forward, but let's go ahead and take a look at the math now. All right, so we're gonna test this out on a butt-naked Langell, all right? If we look at his base stat, we've got 6,237 base HP, all right? So if we put these boots on him, plus 8%, 6,237 base HP, plus 8%, we should end up with 6,000, well, plus the extra 31 he's getting from somewhere else. We should end up with 6,767 HP, basically, because it's gonna round up, I'm sure. So let's go check and make sure that works out the way we think, right? Okay, so we're good, 6,767. Now, if we head over to some pants that have just a flat HP stat and then no other ways that it's affecting HP, you would think we would just add 7,830 to that, right? Because it's a flat stat. But that's not exactly the case, because again, this gets absorbed by the main flat stat. So what you would think would be 7,830, you would think this would put him at 14,596, but you'll notice we are a bit higher than that, right? So what we do now, the way to figure out how we ended up with that number is we go 7,830 plus 6,237, which is 14,067. Now, if we add the 8%, and then the 31 again that he's getting from somewhere randomly, now we end up with the proper number, 15,200 and some change, right? We can't see exactly what it is, but that's how that's working. It's because the base stat absorbs these top stats instead of it just getting added. Where, if we remove these, right, now we're back down to 6,767. If we find something that has EX HP as a substat, and preferably one that's not going to affect HP in any other way. So yeah, here we've got 2,088, right? So 6767 plus 2088. 8,855 is what we should end up at. That's what, because the EX stat is a normal flat stat. It just gets added on top. This top row, the base stat absorbs it and becomes part of what the percentage is affecting. So it's a little bit more complicated in this game, which is kind of fun, to be honest. It's kind of nice to have it be a little bit different. I hate that I put out incorrect information. I try really hard not to do that, but I do think it's interesting. So that's it. That's how it all works. That's how the math works out. And again, this is a good little window to be able to see specifically what your gear is adding to the champ. And then if you want to see the main stats, you can do it over here. But that's it. I hope this clears it up. Hopefully, I'm going to do my best to redirect everyone to this from the gear guide. So hopefully we can, prevent too much confusion. But I think the rest of the video is fine, so I don't want to redo the whole video or anything. So I don't know, maybe I'll mute that section and direct everybody here. But that's it. Again, my bad. I hate that I do it, but we'll be more careful moving forward. And that's it. I'm getting out of here. Later, guys.